to the Making Sense of Martech podcast, where we interview leaders and put them in the hot seat. I'm Jacqueline Friedman, founder of Monarch and Global Head Advisory for the Martech Weekly. Let's dive in and meet Adrian Rohr, the VP of Marketing CRM at Fabletics. A little about him. He leads the brand's omnichannel engagement strategy, originally from Germany and now based in Los Angeles. He has over a decade of experience in entrepreneurship, consulting, and business strategy for D2C and retail companies. At Fabletics, he's driven the shift from manual CRM to an AI-powered orchestration using automation and personalization to boost customer relationships and business results. One, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to dive in. And also, I'm really excited for folks to learn from your expertise.
Thank you for having me. Like, you should write my resume. That sounds amazing.
You've done some pretty cool stuff.
When you have fun,
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited to dive in because your story and your team is very unique in that you have really built a marketing engine in-house where
Yeah,
you are fully capable of executing without any outside resources, which is a rarity, especially for a brand at the scale and size of Fabletics.
yeah. I realized that when I came from Germany to the US, I was in consulting previously and worked for a lot of the big brands, the big names. None of them had that unique setup like Fabletics or Textile did back at that time. And it was really surprising. And until today, it's very surprising to me what incredible advantages it gives you when you have truly everything in-house from start to finish. So I'm very excited to share a little bit more about that with you today.
Me too. All right. To start us off, we've got a couple quick questions, rapid fire. What was the first marketing tool you ever used?
You're gonna laugh at me. It was Microsoft Front Page in school. I
What?
had to build websites with frames like awful when I think back today. But quick spoiler, like if you build emails today, it's still in freaking HTML tables that we did 15, 20 years ago.
It's true. It's still like the late 90s, early 2000s in email.
Yeah, awful, right? Isn't it?
It's nostalgic. We'll say that.
Love that word.
All right. Now, shifting gears, what's one marketing tool you cannot live without?
For Fabletics, it's certainly Tableau because we're incredibly data-driven. And in today's time, I think no one can get around ChatGPT. And for us, it's Cloud as well. So I think those are the three tools I use every single day.
That's awesome. All right. Getting a little bit into the nitty gritty, peeking behind the curtain, what is Fabletics tech stack?
Great question. I'm just gonna hit the surface because we're gonna go a little bit deeper later on. But so over the last 10 years, Textile built its own proprietary tech stack that powers everything from supply chain to e-com to customer service. Everything was built in-house and really powers the core of what we do. And then in addition to our own proprietary tech stack, we use industry standard like tools like Snowflake, Segment, and Iterable for CRM.
Awesome. So, speaking of email and different channels, if you had to choose a favorite channel, mobile, email, or push, which one is it and why?
A good question. I think I opt for mobile. Number one, because it's always with the customer. You're part of their moment, not just their inbox. And you can be more creative than push, but are a little bit more limited than email. But yeah, I think it's mobile for me.
Yeah, I have a feeling RCS for your team's future is going to be vitally important.
Yeah, I think many providers are looking into adopting RCS, seeing how it works, what it means for their customers, trying to develop a product out of it. I haven't seen the product just yet that works for everyone. Exciting what's coming in the future for sure, yeah.
For sure. All right, speaking of features in the future, what's one AI feature you wish existed?
It's creating true one-on-one messaging at scale. And at scale means for us hundreds of millions, which exists, but not exists yet.
Correct.
So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, it's definitely on the way. Everyone is trying. It's going to be
Mm,
interesting to see who wins the race.
yes.
All right, and last but not least, something we ask everyone, who is someone you admire professionally or personally?
Very easy question. My parents.
Well, that's lovely.
I think my dad gave me that entrepreneurial spirit that I have today. My mom raised three children, so that's a very easy question to answer.
That's amazing. Let's set the stage a bit and learn a bit more about Fabletics and as well as the greater textile fashion group. So Fabletics is a part of a brand portfolio, which also includes Savage by Fenty, My Girl Riri, and Just Fab. And the textile fashion group calls itself Silicon Valley meets Fashion Avenue. How does this show up in your marketing strategy?
Great question. So Textile used to be the holding company. Today, all brands are independent, and we still have that layer across all brands, which powers the backend. When you say Silicon Valley meets Fashion Avenue, that means I think two things for us. Number one, why Silicon Valley? Because we're not just a fashion brand. We also built our proprietary tech stack. That's what I mentioned earlier. And we built that tech stack simply for the reason that when the company was founded, there was no ecom tool that powered membership the way how we do it. And then the second component to it is membership, right? All of our brands are membership based, which gives us incredible competitive moats. We identify all of our members, which are our customers and prospects, know what they shop, know what their sizes are, names, like, everything that you could wish for from a data perspective, which in our marketing allows us to be hyper targeted. And just on the CRM side itself, we can use over 250 data points on a daily basis to customize our messages. Whether we make use of those or not, that's a different story. But they are to our disposal.
Yeah, that sounds like a gold mine.
I mean, it truly is. But those 250 data points, over 250 data points, it sounds like a lot. But I also want to be honest, it's not something that we use on a daily basis, right? You probably get down to 15, 20 data points that are highly relevant for your marketing every single day. And then whenever you tap into more specialized segments around promotion, product preferences, location, whatever it is, that's when those additional data points come in handy. It sounds a lot. It's a nice number to say. But in all fairness, it's probably like 20 plus minus data points that we use every single day. Now, what it all means together, that Silicon Valley approach where we have our own tech, the membership model, means it gives us an incredible data and performance driven approach to everything that we do as a company, which is definitely like an advantage if you think about over a traditional retailer who sometimes has a hard time of identifying their customers. We are not at that problem, which just is great. And I love working in that environment every single day.
Yeah, it's such a rarity, and I'm really intrigued by just how it came together. I think every
Mhm.
company strives to be data driven to the point where they have 250 data points that are highly personalized to an individual to be that customized and personalized. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious how you helped Fabletics get to this point. How did you evolve from a fragmented CRM system to this AI driven, centralized approach? What was the turning point that kicked off this transformation? And really, I think everyone just needs to know how to do this because it is the goal and you guys have actually achieved it.
We have achieved it, but I also want to be fair. There's still a vision like ahead of us where we want to head to. So in 2023, we had two separate tools for email and push and another tool for text messaging. And both tools were incredibly strong and allowed us really to scale from zero to a very significant contribution to the business, right? Great approach. It was easy to get into it. It allowed us a quick implementation, all done right. At some point, we realized, though, that we are limited in how much we can scale. Why? Because teams were occupied with manually downloading a segment from one tool, uploading into the other tool. You always fought around trying to find workarounds, how to, satisfy certain business needs. Journeys were not really connected because those tools talked with each other, but not really with each other. I think things that all marketers can relate to when you have two separate tools. The good thing for us, we never had to fight around data hygiene, like a database. Where do I get my data from? How does it flow? I was very, very fortunate, or we were very fortunate to have that challenge already solved, right? So for us, it was really, okay, how can we push the boundaries and create this true omnichannel setup, which to me lays the foundation for anything that you want to do around AI, right? If you have to fight around trying to connect your systems and make all those individual islands work together, that just is such hard task and takes away from your ability to execute AI or execute any type of omnichannel setup, like in its true core and how it should be. So we had those two tools. We decided to bring everything into one platform, which we did in 2024. What it meant for us is the team is much happier. That's always my number one priority. We cut all those manual efforts that take away from the task that should actually be executed. We are much more flexible. We can create, and I'm not saying we create it because we're still on that track, but we can create that true omnichannel setup where you have a tool that just orchestrates your entire customer experience and makes sure that the customer gets the right message at the right point through the right channel. This typical philosophy that everyone is striving for.
Yeah, it's inspiring and that I feel like it's a utopian
Yeah,
company as it relates to the tech stack component and the data
yeah.
behind it because rarely do you get to marry the two at the same time. you might have a really great tool, but then you have to clean up your data, or vice versa. And so it's
Yeah,
very impressive. And I'm curious, is this indicative of perhaps the company culture that shaped this kind of strategy, this forward thinking, or was it the opposite? Was the CRM strategy the kind of driving force?
great question. And that was really to my surprise when I joined Fabletics 8 years ago, that it was just ingrained in our company culture. Like our founders push for that drive and that innovation. And the company was founded and set up in the way to allow exactly that. I think CRM adapted to it and made its own version of that. What it means for us, since we are fully integrated, we don't work with any agencies in our CRM environment. The team is structured in a way where you have a marketing side and an operations side. The marketing team can solely focus on strategy, segmentation, testing, the messages that you want to send. And then the operations side can focus solely on building those campaigns, maintaining the system, making sure that the marketing team understands what opportunities they have within the system. And both of that together allow both teams to be very specialized, feel a high sense of ownership. And then I think on top of all that, you layer our culture to be very data driven, which also impacts the way how we run CRM, which is probably a good balance between brand and performance. It's not just brand. It's not just looking once a week at numbers. We look at numbers and performance in general as a key driver of what we do, which helped us to make CRM a substantial contributor to the business over the last, 8 to 10 years.
That's amazing and also really helpful for folks to recognize if you actually empower your teams, it
Mhm.
will drive everything you need from change and innovation, but also ultimately revenue. And
Oh yeah.
so, if only everyone could take that tidbit of advice and incorporate it.
I'm a very, very big believer in that. If you empower your teams to make their own decision, they're just more motivated. They're like bought in. They are happy to do the work what they do, and that just drives great outcomes and results.
For sure. And so I'm curious with this really kind of almost like founder mindset that is embodied and imbued into the corporate culture, how does this influence both how decisions are made, when, where they're communicated, especially as certain channels continue to be bigger drivers for you versus maybe other fashion brands? Like, how is this all combining and working together?
I think what's important is, since CRM is such a substantial revenue driver for the business, it's not just a topic for the CRM team. In most corporates, you have one team is doing product, the other team is doing CRM, then you have a marketing team, and all those different teams, have their own roadmaps and agendas, and all those different teams try to align, yet they all work a little bit on their own agenda, right? We are no different. But I think what we do great is just communication, and we are doing a much better job in aligning our priorities. What it means for us, for example, SMS and text messaging in general is still the highest growth channel that we're seeing, which means that our product team is actually fired up on where can we put SMS on site? Where can we put SMS in app? How does all that work together? And they are actually the ones coming to us with suggestions of, oh, we can put a phone number field in there and like we can have an opt-in in there. So it's the buy-in from cross-functional partners that help us to make those decisions together and then set the right priorities in terms of what we want to build together. Another example is our product team is highly focused on AI, of course, as well. They came up with AI features, AI ideas that help the site, that help CRM. And then it was driven from them also a little bit, right? Of course, it's in a partnership with CRM and different teams how to implement that. But I think there's just a high degree of interest in various channels beyond your own responsibility, if you want to put it that way.
Fantastic. I almost feel facetious even asking, but like, what were maybe the biggest, sounds like it wouldn't be cultural, but maybe operational hurdles in building out this internal autonomous CRM team? It sounds like everyone is proactively working together in a lot of ways, but were there any tidbits that folks could take away from?
For sure. I think we as a company are set up in a way that we try to break down any internal hurdles as much as possible. Of course, again, getting back to that road mapping agenda topic, it also influences bandwidth, which is something that we always work through. However, two of our mindsets are drive and innovation, and we embody those mindsets every single day. What it means for us on the CRM side is I luckily am and I'm very grateful in the position of having a fantastic CRM team. Every one of them is an expert in their field. highly motivated, highly skilled. So for me, it's just cultivating and maintaining that culture. But how I do it is really empowering the team to make their own decisions. I am not involved in day to day. I'm not looking at emails and deciding whether I like that button in red or in white. The team knows what works, right? The team is empowered to make decisions. As long as the results are speaking for themselves, there is no need for me to give any type of direction, how an email should look like, how an SMS copy should look like, right? It's the overall building blocks that are very important to me that I work with the team. And then they can set their own agenda and execute it from there. In addition to that, and I think that's probably even within the company, I have a very high tolerance of risk. I allow the team to try something out, to test, to learn, sometimes to fail, but always to win, right? And giving them that opportunity to grow, to learn, just makes them happy, makes them very engaged, and helps us to really embody those mindsets of drive and innovation.
I love that. We're talking a lot about how you've got this builder's mindset with your team. I'm actually curious, how is your org chart? Could you break down what CRM team means at Fabletics?
Absolutely. So CRM at Fabletics means owning all marketing channels, which are email, SMS, and push notifications for our prospect customers and for our customers that we call members or VIPs. And the orchard is very simple. It has a leader for the marketing side and has a leader for the operations side. And they have their own teams supporting day-to-day business for all brands that we support, which is Fabletics, Fabletics Scrubs, and Yeti.
That's amazing. And how do the teams stay coordinated and in constant kind of transparent communication?
Number one, we have an open office space. There is not even one wall between any one of those people. They talk every single day with each other. We, of course, have our alignment meetings that are kept to a minimum because otherwise you just drown in meetings every single day. And I feel it's very simple. You know, it's just like talking with each other. We are in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, work from home on Mondays and Fridays. We made that remote policy work great for us. And there's never a lack of alignment or transparency. I think a lot is also, as a leader, just keeping the team informed of how the business is doing, what are the larger priorities, what's in the moment relevant for all teams, just to give them the context and business acumen and allow them to make their own decisions that are aligned with the business.
Amazing. I want to shift gears a little bit more to building in house versus really outsourcing, which is the standard practice. And so we've, of course, been talking culturally about how this aligns the most with Fabletics and the greater fashion group. But
Yeah.
were there any other particular reasons as to why the capabilities were built in house rather than relying on outsourced agencies and contractors?
Great question. I think from a founding history, it just evolved that way, right? We built our proprietary tech stack. It was just added to it certain functions. What it means for us is today we have incredible speed and the flexibility to build whatever we want to build. You cut essentially the entire piece of working with third parties. I'm not even saying agencies because, of course, you have like various vendors that contribute to an enterprise of our scale. But you cut that middle piece of trying to align everyone in your network around you, making sure everyone knows what to do. Like we don't have that step, which means if we have to adjust a campaign, done in a second. If we have to reshoot ecom images because we feel like we haven't hit the quality that we want to get to, it's done in a day in-house. If we have to adjust the email calendar because, you know, a promotion has shifted a day up, very easily done because the creative team can do it in a second. You don't have to reach out to a project manager that then helps you to intake that request, goes back to a creative team and sends something back to you. So really that builder's mindset, what you called it, is I think very, very ingrained and very, very relevant for us. And what it drives is really just speed and execution, right? Our go-to market for certain things is just lightning speed compared to what you usually talk in a regular enterprise. We launch new products every single month. We launch a new marketing campaign every single month. That means that we have to produce 12 marketing campaigns plus any type of partnerships or celebrity campaigns that we do. That's a very, very high volume. I personally believe you couldn't do with outside agencies. Number one, from an OpEx perspective, at some point you probably reach a limit of what you want to pay for outside, and you can just also insource it or bring it in-house. And all that together is just, again, for me, every single day, again, great to see and fantastic, and also very interesting to see, because we really made it work of how to integrate the entire value creation from start to finish into one company.
Yeah, I am frothing at the mouth. Every time I've been in house, it has not been
Yeah.
like that. So I would say your competitive advantage being able
Yeah.
to do something like that. And of course, mentioning execution, be quicker. If you need to pivot, things can happen on, in a moment's notice because you have the resources in house. I'm
Mhm.
curious, does it also lead generally just to faster decision making and experimentation?
For sure. I think speed is just like the number one argument that you will always hear, which is totally true. When you talk CRM specific and performance oriented, what it also means is you keep the knowledge within your team, right? Now let's bring everything together that we already talked about so far. Empowering teams. Well, if teams read the reports, if teams identify the learnings between simple A/B tests that they did over time, they collect knowledge. You don't have to share that knowledge with an outside party telling them why a CTA should be, red and not blue, because you've tested it up and down a million times. The knowledge stays within the team. Even if a team member is leaving, the next team member, gets trained up on that. Keeping that knowledge in-house, I think, is incredibly powerful and just helps you to make execution even stronger. Aside from speed and everything else that you can put in there, having the experience and the knowledge in-house is just incredibly, incredibly valuable to us.
Institutional knowledge for sure is, I think, really great bellwether as to whether or not a company will be able to accelerate quicker and also stop quicker. I'm curious, as you say, there's always going to be attrition. How is the documentation process for that institutional in-house knowledge to be able to be shared or scaled as the team grows?
I would love to tell you that we have a perfectly maintained Jira board and everything is on there. In reality, it's a PowerPoint file that we just maintain. Like over the years, there's one file per year where we just list all of our tests and test results. It's very simple. There is no magic to it. When you onboard with us, that's probably one of the Bibles that you can read.
Understood. And I've seen some of your decks, so I can only imagine what this one is and how good it is.
Well, it's not as beautifully designed as outside presentations, but no, there is knowledge. We keep it in our reports. We of course do our executive reporting. It's in there. But for the team, it's very simple. It's a PowerPoint file. It's our operational Excel spreadsheet that we have. There's no magic to it.
Wow, that's unexpected answer considering how many companies, but also myself included, just how much documentation and reporting on each and every single thing is so important. Maybe it really isn't.
It is, because the reporting that you do, it's not about building the reporting, right? That's just the outcome. But spending the time to look at numbers, see what worked, see what didn't work, making decisions based off that. It's about the time that you personally invest into doing it and dedicating the time to it. And then putting that on a slide for your SVP to share that with the broader executive team. That's just a task that you complete. But
Right.
the time that you invest, that's what's the most valuable piece in the entire reporting and knowledge building process, I would say.
Yeah, time is the only currency that you have to
Yeah,
get through. So might as well cut through the BS and just get to what worked and what didn't work and learn from it.
100%.
And speaking of learning from things, a little bit curious because you're part of a brand portfolio, are there things that the in house team is sharing amongst the other brands that both is informative and helpful from a testing perspective? Or actually, is that problematic and makes things homogenized amongst the brands?
So of course we have the power of five brands working together under like one portfolio. And it's simple. We talk, we have a Teams chat. We just share what we think is great learnings, is great tests. Of course, our executives talk and, come back to us and be like, hey, this brand did X, Y, and Z. Can we think about that for us as well? Even within Fabletics, we have our European business, which is managed out of the Berlin office, and we have our US office, which manages the North American continent. Even Europe executes things sometimes faster and quicker than we do it in the US. So we take learnings from there also over here, and vice versa. We share whatever we developed here back to Europe. What it definitely like makes it easy for us, we all use the same CRM tool, Iterable. So you can easily copy paste anything that you built in there across your different projects. All brands are also using in the backend the same proprietary tech stack, the same, industry standard Snowflake segment and all those tools, which definitely makes it easier from a tech perspective just to share something across brands or within brands. I definitely also think that having one client success manager for all brands with Iterable helps. There's just awareness that, these our CSM can bring to us from other things that they did with the brands. And then at the same time, we also allow our brands to be independent, right? Not everything that works for Fabletics might work for the other brands and vice versa. So there are certainly nuances that we could test up and down to confirm it. Another brand is doing it the same way and they're just like failing all the time with it. So there's definitely like also differences in individual brands.
Yeah, I love both the option for the cross pollination, but also it's still everyone is in their own swim lane,
Yeah,
but at the same
yeah,
time, you're all in the same pool.
yeah.
And that's really nice.
It's like working with any type of brand outside. You have a great connection and you just connect, share what worked. No different for us.
It's friendly competition, all with the same goal.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right, I want to get a little nerdy about the actual Martech in particular.
Yes.
So I know you're already using AI for send time optimization, channel selection, message suppression, and particularly content generation. One, I'm curious, which has been the biggest impact, and also your story is only enterprise example I know of AI using it correctly for marketing. And so I want to hear your examples and your learnings.
Okay,
It's
that
true.
honors me a lot. Which AI tool makes the biggest impact? Very clear answer, content generation. We use sentiment optimization, we use channel optimization, we use frequency optimization. We've tested it up and down. What I can tell you is you see impact, positive or negative, on performance. But what we realized, it's not moving the needle, right? And I think it's because of the volume that we have. Whether it's good or not, that's a completely different conversation. But we have a very high frequency across all three channels that we serve. And if you take channel optimization as one tool, which usually means that you have one message and two different channels, and you let a tool decide, which channel to use to send that message. Well, turns out if you send that one message through email and SMS or push, whatever you want to choose, it has a higher impact than letting the tool decide whether you use email or SMS, right? I'm still a very, very fundamental believer in we will get there to optimize the customer experience to where we all think today what the best example is, sending that one right message through the right channel at the right time when you need it. We're not there yet. Very honest, we're not there yet. But if you take content generation as what we have today, it's making massive impacts. Very simple examples. If you can have a subject line AI generated and use a tool that helps you to refresh that subject line very continuously, or even go one step further and feed a ChatGPT prompt that gets called by an API with, I don't know, customer and product data and have always a subject line written fresh. What it means is you avoid fatigue, especially for trigger and transactional messages, right? Because those are usually the ones take a cart abandoned. Hey, you left something back in your cart. Customers will realize that. If you are able to have for every single email that you send around the cart abandon, the browser abandon, anything that is very repetitive at some point, if you can bring in new, fresh wordings, messagings, language, whatever you want to call this, it drives performance. And if you take this a step further, we call those letter format emails. For everyone, it's probably like a simple plain text email. Just the format itself is already driving great performance. If you take that a step further and be able to customize that message individually beyond, hey, first name, I hope city is treating you well, which is very simple what you can do just by using variables. If you can have an AI generated content that is just more personal, more approachable, even more relevant, that is just skyrocketing performance for us. And I know that I'm very passionate about this topic. I could talk about that for days. What the challenge for us is today, it's two simple things. Number one, we're realizing that sentiment optimization, channel optimization, all those tools are not moving the needle on a big scale. And number two, content generation is only limited. I almost want to say how much you want to pay because
Mm.
you have to go through a ChatGPT, or an OpenAI or any type of other AI provider, and they just charge you for every single prompt.
Yep.
So if you want to send a million emails or a million SMS, whatever you want to create, you got to pay for that very reoccurringly versus in today's environment, you pay your access fee for any tool that you have and you send as many emails as you want. There's just another cost component coming in, which I think we need to explore a little bit, but that's truly for us the only limiting factor. If I wouldn't have any budget constraints, we would probably have a one-to-one customized message for a broadcast every single day.
Wow, that's really encouraging to hear. One, that it's actually working, because I think there's
Yeah.
so many question marks on brand guardrails, on potential hallucinations. And is that something you've experienced, or have you been able to place the right bumpers so everything stays in the right lane?
We try to keep everything in the same lane. I think I have to spend a weekend to look at messages that we sent and find the ones where it's like, oh, how can we send this? The prompts that we're using and the tools that we're using allow us to stay within brand guidelines. And it's certainly something that we even have to explore further. And like, what are the boundaries left and right? Do you restrict it too much? Do you not restrict it at all? Like,
Right. It's a tricky balance.
if you don't restrict it at all, what's the what's the performance impact? If you do restrict it, do you believe your brand is still represented a great way, or do you have to accept any performance cuts on that side? Like, we're still in that learning phase, and that's how I'm seeing AI. To be fair, I had a conversation with our COO, and I was like, I would never sign a 3-year contract for any AI tool at the moment because I have zero idea of what's coming up next month and what great features get launched again. So it's just, driving performance, which is always a win and that feels good. But it's also about the qualitative side where you learn, or like, how does AI work? Where can it help us? And you use 10 different features and you got to align whatever tools you want to use in the future and then create a powerful setup out of that. And, just brand controls or restricting or whatever you want to call this, your messages is certainly a part of that.
That makes total sense. And it's also, I imagine, pretty inspiring, and also a good gotcha of really the way in which the APIs are set up right now are not for personalization at scale. And
Yeah.
from a cost perspective, that will eventually get cheaper, but also there's computing power to think through. And so there's a lot behind the scenes. So we've been focused a lot on content generation. I want to name and discuss the tools that you're leveraging and how the actual inner workings work, because I want to get nerdy, and because you're truly one of the few companies I know that's leveraging AI successfully at scale, even with certain constraints.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about the tool Jacquard and how you're leveraging it today.
We onboarded Jacquard in February this year, I believe. What it does is, for everyone simply explained, you train the tool on your brand voice, your tonality. You give it inputs like, subject lines from the last 2 years, including performance, to see really what patterns work and what drives performance. You can set up an experiment at Jacquard. I'm just sticking to a subject line for simplicity. You'd be like, okay, I have this campaign here. Let's take a cart abandoned. The prompt is urge customers to check out the products in their cart. And then the cart gives you a number of variants that is, flexible to determine. We usually do somewhere between 5 and 8. And those variants are based on your brand voice, your brand tonality. The benefit is that the marketing teams have to manually approve those variants, which is the human control and oversight in AI not going rogue. And then essentially the integration with our network is very simple. You have a data feed into Iterable. You have a placeholder variable as a subject line, which is essentially the variants that the cart developed for you. And you have a feedback loop into Jacquard, which then sends opens and clicks from Iterable back into Jacquard. Now, what it does is the messages get sent out. It's pretty simple to like an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever, how many variants you have, tests, and the tool learns which variants perform, which don't, and automatically optimizes the performance for your campaigns, which is especially great for triggers and transactionals that you don't maintain on a daily or even weekly basis. Because as you work through those different subject lines or any type of content, at some point you will see fatigue, right? That's, I think, what all of marketeers already saw in the past. And especially as your team, if the team is a little bit smaller, we are trying to, push the boundaries and even optimize it more. But even if your team is smaller and you don't have the bandwidth to just go through all of your triggers monthly to update subject lines and make sure that you read performance and see what works, Jacquard can help you there because it's optimizing the different languages that it created for you. And once there's a fatigue and once Jacquard reached its limit of which is the very best variant, it automatically drops the ones that are losing and gets you 5, 10 new variants that you can approve manually again. And in that circle, you make sure that everything stays relevant, stays on performance, and really drives, incremental wins for your team.
I love that there's a positive feedback loop. There is also a human approval process, and also that this is, in my opinion, not where folks would think of the triggers and the transactional emails that you kind of set and forget. This
Yeah,
means you're not setting anything to forget it. If anything, you're setting it to optimize, which
right.
never happens in most
Right.
companies.
We are part of that. It's the same for us. Like the most love and attention get the daily broadcast emails that you send, the triggers and transactionals. The ones are actually, are what I would say are the true moment driven messages that you should send. They just don't get as much love. And if
Yeah.
you use a tool like Jacquard or other tools, they just help you in maintaining relevance and like an updated look and feel and messaging in there.
Yeah, it means you're both able to invest in the present day today, which is, the next campaign for this month, but also you're able to maintain, keep hygiene, and really customize with a tool like Jacquard. We've really been diving into all the ways you're leveraging AI. What do you see as Fabletics' differentiator or edge? Is it the in-house team? Is it having clean and well-established data? Where do you see AI being such success and why for your team?
I think it's all of it together. There's not one thing where I'm pinpointing it down. The advantage that we have as a company is, again, one of our mindsets is drive and innovation. What it means is you start by giving your teams access to those tools. Most corporates today are still thinking about which tool could we use, what are the compliance guidelines around that. We moved very quick on that. All of our teams have access to ChatGPT, an enterprise version that they can use for whatever task they want to accomplish. And then, our mindset of everything in-house, building our own tech, allowing teams to test, learn, fail, and win, having a high tolerance of risk taking, allowing teams to be engaged and own the work that they do. All that together is, I guess, what puts us ahead in AI when you talk industry wide.
That makes total sense. And shifting gears to maybe thinking larger to the entire industry, you're not struggling with what most brands struggle with, which is both tech debt and siloed data and fragmented teams. You guys have really aced each one of those components. What is your advice for folks who are trying to achieve and break through that murky, just fragmented component?
That's such a loaded question.
I know. That's why I'm asking it.
I feel like, look, if you talk with any enterprise that is facing those challenges, the responses you get is, oh my gosh, this is so much work. Oh my gosh, we don't know where to start. We will never get it done. It takes years. Everyone feels overwhelmed, right? And you make this a big project and everyone is trying to accomplish what they want to accomplish, but they never get to it. My advice, and I know it sounds silly, start small. Start by having the right tool. Don't feel that you need to plug in your 250 data points at once into this tool. Bring all the channels that you want to send through into this one tool. Have a few powerful, customer data points that you can use and just take it from there. There's no magic to it. I think starting small and building off your expertise, your skills, what you learn gets you to a results much quicker than having those conversations of, oh my gosh, now we want to have a new CRM tool, but we don't have a CDP. And do we need to have a CDP? And what does it mean? And how do we get all this data in there? I feel like all those questions always like get to the same result, which is everyone feels overwhelmed and no one is really motivated to get things done.
You mean a death
Um,
spiral is not the way in which we can achieve and accomplish things?
I'm sorry. No, it's not. It's totally not. And then I think the only one thing is that your teams create it. When we moved to Iterable, it was not me deciding which tool we're gonna go for. I managed the process. I made sure that we all stayed on, focused on the goal. I didn't make the call that we choose Iterable. It was the teams, right? What it meant is everyone was super excited, everyone was bought in, and we all work towards the same goal. Aside from, trying to figure out what to do, I think the team's buy-in, big, big point.
Yeah, I think that empowerment of your own team is the driving cultural force that means you can't get through this. and it's
Yeah,
making it an achievable small steps, phases at a time,
yeah.
where everyone's on board.
And I know it's easier said than done. I'm sure we will all keep struggling with it, but start small, start somewhere, and you will get to something.
I love it. So, of course, we've been talking about hyper personalization, leveraging AI, and how your team's been managing it. Do you see the future of this being potentially even more delightful and surprising of your customers, or maybe for the industry at large, like just smarter spam and more things we don't want in our inboxes and phones?
I think it's both. And I would love to say it's clearly the more hyper personalized, delight that you deliver to your customers, which is what we want to do. But you will also certainly have, those black sheeps out there that just use AI to have the smarter spam. And I think it's already out there. It's not even the future, it's already out there. It probably will just become more. What AI will help us is just creating those true one-on-one relationships. And I think we as marketers just have to be very sensitive and smart about how we use it. Because if you receive a message that is, that reads great, is very personalized, but feels to an extent where it's too personalized, it makes you feel like that brands or marketers exploit your data, right? And like know who you are. Well, in all fairness, those 110 million contacts that we have in our database, I'm not gonna go in there and be like, this person, this is what they shop. Very interesting. Like no brand has time for that, right? But it might feel that way if you start sending those very, very individualized campaigns one on one. So just being sensitive to that topic, because AI will clearly allow you for doing that, right? You can process data faster than ever before. You can write messages faster than ever before without basically doing anything. And I think that is what is very, very important, that we as marketers don't overstep that line right away, because then it might indeed just feel as spam to customers.
For sure. It's a fine line of exploitation and personalization.
Yeah, but again, like we don't sit there and be like, this one person, they shop this, let me grab a recommendation for them. That's
Mhm.
not what it is, right? It's just like you have to aggregate it to like the very highest level, and then tools send those messages.
All right, looking ahead, maybe 1 to 3 years, both of which are kind of light years as it relates to AI, but how do you see continual change within lifecycle marketing and customer engagement with AI actually evolving and maybe being able to provide the next best action more than just the phrase?
Well, when you said 1 to 3 years, I was like, oh my gosh, AI 3 years? I don't even know where we're gonna be in a month. But I think that's still the case because technology is evolving a lot. But it's not just technology, it's also teams that have to evolve, right? You can't just, although it's at your fingertips and your disposal to utilize whatever tools you want to utilize, it's the brands that also need to adjust and make use of it. So I think by next year, we have enough learnings and insights to build the strategy around where and how we use AI on a day-to-day basis. We have enough insights to say to what extent it makes sense for us to invest the budget to have a true one-to-one communication versus thinking in segments or clusters or personas or whatever. And then by that time, the team also should be at a level where AI is more than writing a ChatGPT prompt to improve a copy for something, but you truly have tools that are AI first built. And I think that probably then brings you into like year 1 to 2, where you cut manual efforts and you allow your teams to focus guiding AI and really create the moments and campaigns and have AI help execute you those campaigns, right? So again, like at first I was like, oh, 3 years AI, I don't even know. But if you look at it realistically, I think it's more companies and teams have to evolve to make use of the technology that they have and get to the right result there.
For sure. Yeah, I'm hearing we're eventually going to become shepherds of marketing as opposed to, the ones doing all of the work at all
Yeah.
times. There will still be,
Yeah.
of course, manual work to it, but one, being shepherds, but two, in particular, it sounds like our entire way of thinking about our org charts are going to change. And this is actually how you and I met talking about this, where we were
Yes.
talking about how RCS was going to completely change the entire industry and really change the entire org chart. So your sales team
Yes.
is has to be in conversation with your customer support and success team and your marketing team, because you're all of a sudden going to start using similar channels. To that end, I think the interface, the actual platforms and tools we're all using are going to start combining more and more towards that AI first platform, whatever that may be.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's been built yet.
I agree.
And it's a big question mark.
I haven't seen anything out in the market that truly offers everything. There's lots of new startups that are pushing into the market. Great, because I feel like those startups are chasing the big ones and are also driving innovation. I haven't seen a reliable or sustainable enterprise grade platform that just is integrated end to end. Or I think where my head is like, you will probably not have a customer support system built as one tool with your CRM system, right? Those will probably stay two separate tools. So the question is really, what is the connecting platform in the future that helps you to manage all those different tools, different teams, different org structure, what you mentioned,
Yep.
to still create that one cohesive customer experience. And I think that is truly where the industry has to work on, because in all the different individual areas, you have great tools, great AI push already, but the connecting piece is what is still missing.
Yeah, it's you've got your data layer, and then you have the platforms, but there's no real intermediary for marketing. There's sometimes the CDP that kind of acts in that component, but
Yeah.
that's never even fully come to fruition in terms of initial goal. And so, to your point, I think like a real, actual customer data platform to the truest term and
Yeah.
concept is that missing piece. Maybe that's where MCP protocols and different aspects can really become that. But to your
Yeah.
point, we're not quite there yet.
Future is going to be exciting.
It sure is. All right. Last question we ask any and everyone on the podcast. Who is someone we should have on the podcast?
Tough question, but I think I would say it should be our co-founder, Don Ressler. He's a true brand visionary, and whenever I'm with him in the room, I'm just like quiet and get it going into myself and be like, wow, how can you be such a brain? It's always a pleasure to listen to him and experience his work. So I would say it's him.
Okay. Well, I'll take that introduction. Thank you so much, Adrian. Where can folks find you and get in touch?
You can find me Mondays at home, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the office, and Friday from home as well. No, I'm just kidding. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest to reach me because all the other social channels are private.
As it should be. All right. Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me. I really, really loved it. Thank you so much.
Right back at you.